One. Well, welcome in to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. I'm Landon. I'm without Austin again this week, which is unfortunate. He's a busy young man. He's doing his traveling. I do want to welcome everybody in, man. What a crazy week in the transfer portal. I'll tell you, it's been a crazy week overall for me. I would love to know if anyone has any good punishments for fantasy football, like been in a league where you've had to do the Waffle House thing or had to do just some sort of extreme punishment for coming in last. I had a situation this week where I came in last in fantasy football, and not just, three or four people. Like whoa, camera's going nuts. I came in last in which, by the way, I just realized I'm in a different location this week. We got switching some things around in the office, turning the office into a baby room, which is a blessing, man. Having our first child, a little baby girl, very, very excited. That'll be in early summertime, but till then, kind of getting some things ready. So pardon the mess behind me. Should be back to normal by Thursday or by Monday of next week. But anyway, I came in last with no excuse. There's no reason to come in last place with the amount of people that were in our league. Anyway, and people got their excuses. People got hurt. At the end of the day, people did get hurt, but I was just bad at it and did a bad job keeping up. So last place. The problem was we did not agree to a punishment like with everyone in there. So some people agreed to some things, but no, we never came to a conclusion. Hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody agreed. Cool. So I came in last. And the punishment people decided on initially was 24 hours in a Waffle House. I said, that's not going to work. I'm not going to do that. The next thing they came to, okay, how about 12 hours in a Waffle House? And it's that whole thing you've heard of with like eat a waffle, reduce an hour, that kind of thing. And as I got to really thinking about it, like that just sounds like torture. I mean, best case scenario, what can we eat 4 or 5 waffles and then have to sit there for another, 5 or 6 hours? That just in a Waffle House sounds terrible. Now, you'd get to know the staff very well, so that's good news. So I offered up a different plan, which might have seemed kind of dumb, but I think it sounds better than that. And I said, let me do 10 miles and walk, run, jog combination. Just let me do 10 miles. And people in the group chat felt bad. They're like, listen, we'll help you knock down some of the miles. Every mile we run will help you out with that. And I just got this thing yesterday. I was like, no, you know what? I was going to go ahead and I'm trying to go for 3.1 yesterday, do a little 5K. And all of a sudden, I'm like, no, forget this. I'm just going to go all out and see if I can just do the whole 10. And so I told my wife, hey, I'm going to be late for dinner and kept it going. And I got 7.5 miles in, and I got a phone call from my wife, and we had a little emergency at home. So I had to come home with about 2.5 miles to go. So I'm gonna try that again on probably tomorrow and see if we can just get this knocked out. As much as I appreciate people being willing to help out, it's very, very kind. But I don't know. I want to just to say I did it and earn my punishment. If you have any sort of terrible punishment story with fantasy football, please let us know in the comments. Let us know on Twitter, just at MyDawgsPod. Want to let you know that this episode is brought to you in part by Arpa's Coffee Bar in Starkville in the Cotton District. Man, Arpa's coffee is fantastic. Whether you are just looking for a great gathering place for a special occasion, a good late night hangout spot, if you're students, a good spot to study. Their friendly staff is dedicated to ensure your experience is nothing short of exceptional. They have several new flavors and specials for Christmas time. There's coffee of the month, which is a ginger cookie, and another one called Cookie Claws. I'm not sure what that is, but I am going to have to figure that out and find out. But daily specials on their food and drinks after 4 p.m. on Fridays. Any side is free with their burger, which their burger is phenomenal. It is 15% off anytime you mention your entire order is 15% off anytime you mention that you're a listener of My Dogs Are Barking. So make sure you do that. It is imperative to get some cash off. Also, look, with the money that is being thrown around, the ideas that are being thrown around of the transfer portal, look, let's just be honest, man. A lot of people are at least thinking they're getting rich, but what does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi Edward Jones advisor, serving clients in the area and across the state. Count on him for financial strategies that can help you support a life you love, because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. So contact him today at 662-563-9843, and together you can find your rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC. A lot of things a lot of things happened this week in regard to the transfer portal. This is a show about the SEC, about Mississippi State. Let's focus on Mississippi State for now. Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby were really vying after Jackson Arnold this past weekend, really in a hopes that they could bring him in. But Jackson Arnold was going on a trip to Auburn beforehand. So this is going to be Thursday. He'd be in Starkville Friday, Saturday. And this is Jeff Lebby's guy. This is who Lebby recruited to Oklahoma, coached Oklahoma. And Jackson Arnold never reached Starkville. We talked about it on Thursday on the show that just it didn't seem like he was even going to visit. Based on what people were saying. And there's a lot of good reporters for Mississippi State that had that information. Ultimately, what happened was he ends up signing with Auburn. Auburn also brings another transfer portal quarterback in. The cash, that is being suggested, who really knows, but about 2.7 is a number that seems to be most consistent with people that are, quote unquote, in the know. And of course, we knew that Michael Van Buren, we mentioned that last Thursday as well, just from Mississippi State, decided to transfer out. Thought he was going to Tulane, ends up going to LSU to be a backup quarterback, which I don't really get. If he wanted to be a starter for sure, why make that the option that you go with? I don't know. I don't fully understand that, but he ends up going to LSU and is going to be competing. I mean, to me, I don't even know how he will compete, but like it seems like that seems like Nussmeier has that job, fairly well locked up. But there was another person that Mississippi State scheduled a visit with on the 15th and 16th, and that is former 5-star quarterback from Florida State. The transfer here, I'm going to say the name. Let's see if we get it right the first time. Luke Kromanoke visited Mississippi State, and people were kind of on the edge because Michael Van Buren. We said it last week. What Mississippi State did not want to happen when it came to Michael Van Buren and Jackson Arnold, because they had Michael Van Buren. And then it seems like they were flirting with Arnold. It was as if, someone has a prom date that they're like, we like them, but we're just, we're going to see what this other maybe more prettier person has to say. They go ask the other person, hey, would you like to go to prom with me? They end up, really making the person that was going with them mad. And they say, well, I'm not going at all. The person that they asked to come to prom with, they turned them down and they end up dancing by themselves. That's how Mississippi State felt for a little bit. Until this new, until the new student that just moved into town became available, and that's Luke Kromanoke, the 5-star for Florida State, transfers in. He technically did play in more than 4 games last season, so this would be his true sophomore season. From the looks of the articles written, seems like he really linked up with Jeff Lebby well, and things were going well. Something that I do wonder about is what is his role going to be for next season. Like what's the role? Because Blake Shapen is coming back. We knew that. It would appear that Shapen will probably be the starter in the spring because he knows this offense well. But like, did they bring Luke Kromanoke in here to learn under Shapen in hopes he would take over the next year? Because State also has Kamario Taylor, which for a moment though, I think it's important for State fans to realize something. Out of all of the recruits that have ever come to Mississippi State, of all the quarterbacks that have ever been to Mississippi State, and there hasn't been a ton of great ones. There's been several good ones. I'm looking at you, Tyson Lee, 2009, 5'10" JUCO quarterback as one of the great ones. But Mississippi State right now has the highest rated quarterback room they've ever had in history. Highest rated player that's ever signed with them out of high school is Kamario Taylor. But in terms of just overall talent, signee, that's Luke Kromanoke. So you have both of those guys and a 5th-year quarterback in Blake Shapen. There is a ton of experience for Jeff Lebby on that side of the ball. The question really is what's going to happen. I think, none of us obviously hope Blake Shapen it will get hurt. But it's almost the expectation that in some sort of way he could get dinged up just because he's been injured every year except for his first season. And naturally, you don't get in better shape as you go on. Your body takes a minute to heal. Obviously, I mean, he's 24, 25 years old. So he's going to be fine. But there is an aspect that you have to think Luke Kromanoke's going to be playing for State next season, even if he does not beat Blake Shapen out. And I'm sure that's a conversation that Jeff Lebby had with Luke on the front end. And so Luke brought his parents with him. It's funny, a friend was texting me. He said, is Luke having a good time? Is he partying and living it up? I said, well, actually, he brought his parents with him on the visit. So That's good. It's good to know. He's very laser focused, very all the way interested in what's going on. But here's the thing, shout out to Rick Stansberry because this is a great win for Mississippi State. State gets a quarterback to replace Michael Van Buren that is rated higher than him and also rated higher than Jackson Arnold. This is the number 2 overall quarterback that was in the portal. That's a win. I mean, that's a positive thing for Mississippi State. Now, here's the bad news. We talk about the good news. And one more set of good news. University of Texas linebacker Jalen Smith, who's an all-SEC freshman, wrapped up his visit yesterday, and potentially could visit Virginia Tech. I think State's praying that he is not, because that would be a huge, huge piece in this defense. But here's the bad news, and it's what we were all wondering. Well, can State not reload? Oh, goodness. Can State just refresh, get new players on the defensive line? Mississippi State has not one, but 2 Northern Illinois defensive linemen that are visiting Mississippi State this week, from what it appears. They have a defensive tackle from Bowling Green that is going to be visiting that has 10 total tackles. One of the players from Northern Illinois was ranked 36th overall in Pro Football Focus for the total defense. The defense, you're only allowed to have 11 players at one time. And so it is it's incredible, man. It's so crazy to think about where this defense has gone in terms of recruiting players and where they have gone since then. It's so bad. People talk about David Turner being done at the end of the month. He might retire, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to recruit players and then end up retiring. It seems like that would be something that would shake out. There's no way around it. You have to worry about the defense. If the defense was that bad last season, and they don't upgrade the defensive line at all, and they've had several people visit, but they have not had anybody outside of Red Hibbler commit, that's an issue, man. I mean, that's a really, really big problem. I think at the wide receiver position, Mississippi State's going to be in a really good spot. I think that they probably will take 2 more wide receivers. They lost a total of 7 when it comes to graduation, people transferring, that kind of thing. I think there's a couple other guys that are really, really big. There's a player from Idaho that I think it's Isaac Dwyer, but Dwyer's the last name for sure. Wide receiver from Idaho that had 1,200 yards this past season, was really, really electric, and several SEC teams are wanting him. State's bringing him in this week. Isaac Satania, the wide receiver from Arkansas that caught, I believe, 5 touchdowns and 400 yards last season, just finished with a visit to Mississippi State. DT Sheffield, the wide receiver from North Texas, has a visit plan. State's going to be okay when it comes to the wide receiver position. They're going to get enough guys. Oh goodness, was it Joseph Williams, the wide receiver from Toledo, just finished his visit to Mississippi State as well. So State's going to be taken care of there. The Elon tight end, last name's Hardy. I think it's Kevin Hardy. Just finished up his visit, so they're going to be okay on that side of the ball. He's more of a blocking tight end. But the defense is the side of the ball that you have to be concerned about. They have gotten better at the safety position by 100. I mean, they have increased their production there tenfold. That is going to be a really good group compared to last season, with all the players they brought in the portal with Manning and Isaac Smith and Tony Mitchell. They're going to be fine there, but they need a starting corner to figure that out. Since Bryce Pollock left, obviously they have to increase the linebacker. But here's the thing: if you can get a couple of pass rushers, those things will take care of itself. But we saw last season, it didn't matter how long the defensive backfield was trying to cover the wide receivers. At some point, there's no pass rush. You can, if the quarterback has all day to throw, then somebody at some point is going to break away and get open. Now, there were moments, because scheme, what have you, that there were people looking like they were just kind of going wide open and having 5-6 yards of separation every time that they caught the ball. State's going to have to take care of that. Fluff Blowell from South Alabama, I'm butchering some of these names, is planning on taking a visit. Bothwell, okay, give me a break, man. So many difficult names, man. Very difficult names for with Kelly Akakari this past season. This is Demarion Fluff Bothwell. He was an all Sun Belt running back this season as a true freshman at South Alabama, and he has offers from everywhere. Interest from Tennessee, Ole Miss, Miami, USC, obviously Mississippi State, Kansas State, Auburn, Arizona, Tulane. Bill Belichick and the UNC Tar Heels. So there's a lot of interest. They'll bring him in this week because you do have to wonder how Seth Davis and his knee are going to fare going forward. And on the offensive side of the ball, it looks like State's going to be fine and might even be more productive because, look, the Egg Bowl, that game was on the offense. They had opportunities to score in that game when the defense was holding Ole Miss to 20 points all the way up to the fourth quarter. I mean, that's on the offense. The offense needs to get more blame than they did this past season. But it is concerning to think about where this defense is headed. Offensively, I really do think State's in a great place. Getting Luke Kromenhoek is a huge victory for State, especially if he's a guy. He mentioned, and look, you never know what is genuine about players nowadays, but he has mentioned like he didn't want to even transfer from Florida State. He didn't want to make it a thing where he's transferring everywhere, but it just, with Gus Malzahn coming in the frame and the scheme maybe being switched up a little bit, it was just best. So Mississippi State has to be very excited about that. For having a 2-10 team and having a quarterback room like this is impressive, but they got to put it all together, and that starts with the defensive side of the ball. We'll pause for just a moment for an ad read from Neil. We'll come back and talk about the college football playoff games that are going to be this weekend, and a little bit more when it comes to the transfer portal. But make sure you stay tuned for that, and we will go over some of the games already starting this weekend is the first round of the college football playoff. It is fantastic. So we will be right back and talk about that.
All MPW digital podcasts are brought to you by our friends at Parish Brewing Company, located in the heart of Cajun country in Broussard, Louisiana. Parish Brewing Company's simple goal is to make awesome craft brewed beer, and they do it remarkably well. The doctor is introducing their new go-to IPA, Dr. Juice. It's a highly crushable juice bomb, dry hopped with a blend of their favorite hand-selected hops from the Yakima Valley in Washington. Dr. Juice's drinkability is sneaky good, considering it clocks in at 6% ABV. The pour glows a rich cantaloupe hue with a thick frosted haze, soft mouthfeel, an aroma and taste that's full of passion fruit, papaya, and blood orange, making it drink like a glass of freshly squeezed juice. They also have Ghost in the Machine. It's a double IPA brewed with obscene quantities of hand-selected Citra hops from Yakima Valley. Expect pungent grapefruit flavors and aromas, tropical fruit, less harsh bitterness than most IPAs. Again, it's Parish Brewing Company. Wherever you get your beer, check out Parish. Make sure that you look for them, because any beer that you get from Parish is going to be absolutely outstanding. Thank you from MPW Digital.
And just as we finish here going over the playoff bracket, and I want to wait till Thursday when Austin is able to get back here, and we will make our picks. The stage is set, and this Friday night we get our very first game. Indiana and Notre Dame are playing the in-state first round playoff game. If I would have told you after, week 1 or week 2, whenever Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, that later on in the year, in the first round of the playoff, Indiana was going to play Notre Dame, I think people would have thought I was nuts. Like, to think that Notre Dame could lose to NIU and then also Indiana could just get in general. But we do. We had that matchup of Indiana and Notre Dame. And that's Friday night. That's going to be a 7 p.m. Central kick. We'll get to see if Kurt Signetti and those fellows from Indiana are ready to go. I have a tough time thinking Indiana. All season long now. I was wrong on Indiana all throughout the season. I mentioned that I thought that after the game versus Michigan, I thought leading up to the game versus Michigan that Indiana was going to lose that game. And I was completely wrong. They ended up winning 20-15. They get dominated by a really good Ohio State team. Pardon my dog over here. My dog is drinking water literally right beside me. This man has not touched water the entire day. I get the camera on. He's like, you know what? I think I could go for a little bit of water. Anyway, so Notre Dame, though, overall has gotten better as the season has progressed. And I have a tough time thinking Indiana can really compete with any team with any team that really has some substance. Michigan's their best win, but Michigan really struggled throughout the season outside of their win versus Ohio State. So I'm going with Notre Dame in this game. That's going to be the only one we talk about up until Thursday in terms of picks, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. Saturday morning, SMU and Penn State are playing. That's a game I've heard all season long, or all since the playoff was constructed, that Penn State has the easiest route to kind of advance. I got to tell you though, I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think this side of the bracket's the easiest. SMU is a remarkably underrated team for what everybody else is making of them, and I think that they're going to be in for a dogfight. I'll make that pick on Thursday, but this is Penn State's got all kinds of problems, man. They got their quarterback going in the portal. He's out of the portal. Their backup quarterback is indeed in the portal. Really weird stuff happening, and the winner of that one obviously goes on to play Ashton Genty and Penn State. I think that the easiest bracket out of these four is something I mentioned last Thursday, is above. I think Georgia has the best opportunity, the easiest path to the national title game. But anyway, that's 11 a.m. Saturday is SMU and Penn State. 3 p.m. is going to be Clemson and Texas. That is going to be a really interesting matchup because people mention, Dabo's a dinosaur in the transfer portal, although he did just get his first transfer portal guys in. It's worth mentioning that people did not think Clemson could make the playoff because of this kind of, they're not all in on the transfer portal. They're behind the times and that kind of thing. But here they are. I mean, they're in a game versus Texas, and Texas is not as clean as you would think coming into this game. There's a lot of things surrounding next season and what's going to happen. Some of the people are already entering the portal. Watch out for that game. I have a tough time thinking Clemson can pull it off, but nobody thought they'd be able to be there. And then finally on Saturday night, that is the game of the week, man. Ohio State and Tennessee are facing. I was talking with a guy that's connected to Tennessee on Sunday, and he was mentioning that there's some sort of issue with ticket sales, that Ohio State allegedly only gave 3,500 tickets out of 105,000 for the horseshoe, and so Tennessee is fighting back and found a way to kind of reverse that. And either way, this game matchup wise is incredibly intriguing. Ohio State's offense and their dynamic skill players versus Tennessee's defense, and then can Nico, what can he do against Ohio State? This is going to be a really, really good game and very exciting. Whoever wins this one gets the pleasure of playing Oregon, who is the only undefeated team that we have in this entire thing. Lastly, man, like everybody knows the answer to this, but the transfer portal, this stuff has gotten to the point for me at least, where it's not fun. I mean, there were moments in the past couple of years where it was like, wow, Caleb Williams is going to USC, and oh man, Spencer Rattler, he's leaving, he's going to South Carolina, and all these different people, Walter Nolan transferring from A&M to Ole Miss. It is so unbearable at this point, the amount of people to keep up with. And then the deals that you can just opt in, opt out, the potential tampering that's going on. Something has to be done, because I'm getting tired of even talking about how outrageous it is. And if I'm getting tired of that, can you imagine, the coaches and what they're having to deal with basically having to replenish their entire roster? Marshall was set to play in a bowl game, which I don't know if you know this or not, but when bowl games are played, like the university receives a certain amount of money of that. Well, they had to opt out of the bowl game because they didn't have enough players, because Charles Huff left and went to USM, and a bunch of players hit the portal. So now they can't play. Now the university does not get compensated for that. It's an absolute mess. And something has got to be figured out. And then Alabama fans are freaking out because their top defensive player returning, or one of their top defensive players returning it, hit the portal, and thought he was going to go to Ole Miss. Some sort of agreement was reached. He's coming back. But here's what's stopping him from doing that next year? What's to stop Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old, in case no one knew, from getting into the portal after the bowl season is over with? It's just there's just so many things to think about, and you can never. There's never any finality. It's incredibly exhausting just to keep up with. So, of course, when it comes to Mississippi State, State did lose Kevin Coleman. He ends up transferring to Missouri, which is expected. Mario Craver ends up at Texas A&M. Michael Van Buren ends up at LSU. Again, weird fit. We talked about that in the beginning part here. So we will continue to see if Mississippi State brings anyone in. I mean, State has brought in an overnight factory worker to the defensive line. He's going to bring a defensive lineman from Bowling Green that has 10 total tackles and 0 sacks. He's going to bring 2 of Northern Illinois' defensive linemen. You got to think about it. If you're in a defensive end from Middle Tennessee State, you got to feel pretty good about your chances of getting an opportunity in the SEC. But we will continue to monitor that. Make sure you're subscribed to MPW Digital here on YouTube. 10.7 thousand subscribers, really amazing. For My Dogs Are Barking. In terms of our streams each week have been really good. Really have been loving the support you guys have given on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and also right here on the YouTube channel. But hey, we have room to grow on YouTube, so make sure you give us a comment. Again, what your worst fantasy football punishment was, whether it happened to you or someone you know. And make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's just at MyDawgsPod to keep up with all the latest things that are going on in the transfer portal. As much as I do not enjoy looking at it, it is necessary to keep up with. So we will continue to do that. Thank you so much for listening to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital, and we'll see you on Thursday.